mic here. All right, maybe I need to repeat all that. So welcome to the show. We will be talking with the actress Susan Gallagher, and yep, I'm here. Yeah, I inadvertently put myself on mute. So we'll be talking with Susan Gallagher. Like I said, uh, she's a tremendously gifted actress. She's worked with a lot of heavyweights in Hollywood, such as Holly Hunter, Kyle Chandler, Kim Coates, William Zabka, Pierce Brosnan, just a few. She has over 60 credits to her name. Most people might know her from Cobra Kai, where she plays the character named Lynn. So she is our second Cobra Kai cast member that we've had on Eight Questions with, as we have already talked to Rose Bianco. So, and this is a tough role to play. It's not one of the moms or the dads in Cobra Kai. Susan plays Lynn, who has appeared in every season so far. She plays a homeless woman that was in the very first fight scene that showed Johnny getting into a fight, and she was in that very first scene, and and she's been in every season since then. But like I said, her credits are running deep. Um, Other than that, um, hey Sarah, how are you? Hey Chadwick, how are you? Yeah, so we're really excited to have Susan on the show today. It's gonna be very exciting to talk to her about her career, and she's based in Florida. She's married. She has two kids. She's just a mom too. She's a mom, and she's a I would dare say, probably very much in demand actress. It's pretty safe to say based on what I've seen so far, and so yes, looking forward to talking to her. We are working hard here at the channel. Uh, we are working hard, and I want to let you guys know what's coming up here on the channel as well. So we are working on February even as we speak, but we still have a hell of a lot of January to go so far. So let me tell you what's coming up here on the show this week. Tonight is Susan Gallagher. Tomorrow will be screenwriter and film director Joe Cornett. Joe Cornett was on the show earlier with Alexandra Nevsky when we talked about Night of the Caregiver. Tomorrow we will be talking Western films with Joe as his second film. His second film in the series of the Rio Bravo series is about ready to enter post production. So we're going to be talking westerns with Joe tomorrow. Our favorites, his favorites. We're going to be talking about a gunfight at Rio Bravo that he did with Alexander, and then they're doing a sequel which is called Taken from Rio Bravo. And like I said, that one's probably entering post production relatively soon. And of course, we'll catch up with how Night of the Caregiver is going. It seems to be doing very, very well. And the actress Natalie Denise Burrell, she's also a singer, and her band has released a new single called "The Wrong Crowd." She also put out a video. She shared a video of a song that they covered, "Kill My Coquettes." They put out a cover of Berlin's Metro, which is pretty damn rocking, if I dare say so myself. Hi, Sue. How are you? How are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. We'll be talking with Susan Gallagher in a few minutes. So that's Joe Cornett's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And then Thursday, the 18th at 8 p.m., we have sculptor Greg Scorpion coming in from Scorpion Metals. That's right. We had another metal sculptor coming in. We already had Kevin Stone earlier. And so we're going to go back to that and talk to Greg Scorpion now, whereas Kevin created huge, monstrous pieces that are just specialty and one of a kind of work. Greg has he has a business where he can sell smaller figurines. If you want something done that's small and you can check out his store, he can create that relatively quick. some of those things that Kevin makes takes years to make. So he'll be here talking about Scorpion Metals uh, on the 18th. On the 23rd, we will be welcoming in Brendan Murphy. Director Brendan Murphy will be with us at 8 o'clock on the 23rd. On the 24th, we have a double header. We have two shows. Two shows. One at 3 o'clock, we have Mia Katz will be with us at 3 p.m. And on at 8 o'clock, our regular time, we have horror hostess and actress Ms. Misery. She's also a very accomplished writer. Ms. Misery, aka Raina Young, will be with us on the 24th of January. And on the 25th, we have our debut showcase for with our co-presenting with Bipolar Records, and we have Blind Adam and the Federal League, and they will be here on the 25th of January, Thursday. On the 28th, the last Sunday of the month, we will be on the road, heading on over to. Actually, we're going to Iowa first. We're going to Iowa first, I believe, in the afternoon, to do our Quentin Tarantino show with from the boys from You Should Have Killed Me, and also hanging out with the Bat will be there as well. And then at 8 o'clock, we'll be heading on over to Horror with Haas's channel to talk about Crow's Nest for the ISC show. Back to us on the 30th. We'll be talking to actress Jamie Hill will be here with us. And Jamie Hill is one of the stars of the huge hit last year, A Skinner Morenik. So we'll be talking to Jamie Hill. I'm so happy to have her on the show. And the doorbell has rung, so let's go get our guest tonight, and that will be Miss Susan Gallagher. And here we go. Good evening.
Hi.
Wow, very nice meeting you, Susan.
Nice meeting you. I'm trying to figure out what's in the corner of my picture.
That's the cheetah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. See, my channel's name have cheetah will view. Well, that's the cheetah.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah.
Wow. I'm blown away. I was looking at I've been looking at your reel. I look for research. I looked at your line of credits. Wow, you are very very much in demand talent, are you not?
I hope so. Thank you for saying that,
Um,
putting it out there. I've got a puppy
oh,
dog I got to get up here though. He's like I'm a dog person, so sorry.
oh,
This is
yeah,
Misha.
I saw that you have a rescue dog and a rescue cat.
And this isn't a dog. I inherited this one. My longtime acting teacher, Zena Jasper in New York City, passed away on June 8th. And I've always been close to Misha, and she wanted me to have him. She didn't have any children. So yeah, she wanted me to have her beloved baby. So he's adjusting. He'd never been outside of the Upper West Side of New York City. And now he's been all over Florida and Atlanta and North Carolina. And he gets around. But my rescue dog, Lily, is wonderful with him. And they're big buddies. And my crazy feral cat, Kimmy, tolerates him too. And he tolerates her. So it's all good.
As long as the cat gives the approval, things will
Yes,
be peaceful in the kingdom.
that's right. That's
As
right.
Um, yeah, you are my second cast member I'm going to be talking with from the tremendously fun and exciting Cobra Kai. I'm sort of bummed out that they said this is the last season. I'm just like, I don't understand that. The show has been doing so well. It's been getting more popular with every year,
Yeah.
and yet all of a sudden now it's being said this is going to be the last year, and I'm just like, it just seems to be a not exactly a good trend, but it seems to be like a lot of shows are being they're being ended to me sort of prematurely. Um, do you feel that way with Cobra Kai? I mean, you're on the you worked every season on the show. Do you still think it has a lot of life left in its legs, or
Well, of course, I mean, I do, but the big three, John Hurwitz, Josh Hild, and Hayden Schlossberg, the big three are geniuses, and they were huge Karate Kid fans. So I mean, they took this whole project seriously because they loved the Karate Kid movie and still love the Karate Kid movies, and wanted to honor Mr. Miyagi and the OG and all of that, and they've done it. I mean, they made a very, very successful continuation of the Karate Kid movies with Cobra Kai, and I mean they were number one in the world on Netflix. So they they've done it, they've achieved it, and they're filming their final in season 6 now. But you never know. They could do a movie. But they obviously want to do other things. Like they have Obliterated on Netflix, which has been number one in the world on Netflix, and in the top 10, and just very successful. And I mean, these guys just have it going on. They're so talented. So I trust them. I trust whatever they want to do, when they think it's the right time to end this season. But like I said, you never know. There could be spinoffs, there could be movies. So I think that whatever they do is probably the right decision to go out on top, right?
that's true? I heard that Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan are going to be getting together to team up for a Karate Kid adventure.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that would be. I have to admit, when I heard that, I was pretty psyched out by that because I love the remake. I love the
Yeah.
remake that Jackie did. I thought it was tremendously exciting. Um, and I mean, it was, and I really like the series. And it's funny. It's like when I saw your character for the first time, and I'm realizing that, because I watched the first, everybody got to see the first couple of seasons on YouTube before it got yanked to Netflix.
Right, YouTube
So
Red.
when
That's right.
what's funny? I'm watching you sitting there in your role as Lynn, and I'm reading the going like, why is she doing Lynn? She could be kicking ass her own self because you are a martial artist yourself, are you not?
I am. I'm a black belt. Actually, I was in training for my second degree. I got about halfway through, and I started developing some issues with my ankles and my foot, doing all those spinning hook kicks or whatever. And so, I mean, I haven't done martial arts in a long, long time. But you give me a couple months to get in shape, and I'll kick your butt. So that's
Right.
my story. I'm sticking to it. Yeah, but no, Lynn, homeless Lynn was a blast. She has been an absolute blast to slip into her filthy, sassy, somewhat provocative skin and try to bring some humor to Johnny Lawrence's life that's filled with drama. I mean, he needs some to lighten up, right? Because he's got so much freaking drama.
Sure.
So Lynn just she loves to give him a hard time, and you know, um bring a little bit of humor.
It's funny whenever when I think about Cobra Kai and the show, and I was really grateful for the show, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. What really made that show so special to me is the fact that William Zabka got his due, and
Oh, I
he
totally agree.
really, he really deserved it. He's a really good actor. He never got the breaks
I
after,
know.
and
I totally I totally agree with that. I mean, by the second season, I was so thrilled for him, for the whole world to see what a great actor William Zabka really is. And I don't know if you know this or not, but I mean, he's also a writer, director, producer, and he wrote and I don't know if he directed. I think he directed it too. A short film. I think it's called most or the most, and it received an Oscar nomination for this film that he did years ago. And I finally watched it. I think I watched it during the COVID quarantine. I just started watching a lot of short. I love short films anyway.
Me
A
too.
lot of short films and documentaries. And I'm telling you, that movie is so worth watching. I'll never forget it. It's the kind of movie, and the lead character, gosh, what's that actor's name? Vladimir somebody. Anyway, he was so oh gosh, he just pulled you in from the very beginning, and you just held on to this guy throughout the whole performance. It was just remarkable. And I think it was shot in the Czech Republic, which is where his family is from. So it was fantastic.
Now, is that commonplace, Susan, when you see a peer like William, um, when you get a chance to work with them and you know their background and you know how good of an actor they are and how dedicated they are, um, do you just find yourself? Is it subconsciously that when you get a chance to work with somebody like that, who's this could be really big for him or her? How does that affect you emotionally as a human being, or and a peer? I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm watching him getting this shot and reading about like on an emotional level, not only a fan of the show, like, yeah, Cobra Kai rocks, but as a
Right.
fan of his, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people were really touched by his story and the chance that he got to come back and shine. Um, I'm sure you worked on other sets where that has happened for other actors who maybe haven't got the break that they probably earned and deserved,
Mhm.
and you get a chance to work with them and to get to be around them. Um, does that affect you? Does that affect your performance with them, or do you block that
I
all out?
I don't think it really affected my performance. I can remember, I will tell you this, the first season, the first episode, uh, when Johnny Lawrence threw his first kick in over 30 years, when they're out there at the car, and Lynn's telling him to finish up and then beat it. This is my mart. You ain't hustling no coin at my mart. And he's like, well, hustling, I'm not homeless. That's my car. And then Miguel comes up, and the whole Rhea, situation with the Pepto Bismol on his head, and the fight happens with all those guys. It was it was memorable for everybody that was there, the cast, the crew, because it was over 30 years since Johnny Lawrence had thrown a kick, and a punch. So to be able to be there in that moment was very special. And even though I'm over there, Lynn, she's picking up his pizza off the off the sidewalk
Right,
and
you ate
eating
the
it.
pizza off the plate.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
right.
she never misses a meal, but she's kicked back. Maybe it's a Friday night, and she's just watching the action, the fight, and having a good time. But later, when I reflected back, it really touched me that I was there, able to be there, and I was so grateful to be part of
Uh,
that moment.
I think I just love the show. I really and you like I said, you've had a tremendous career so far,
Oh,
because it
thank
ain't
you.
over yet. It ain't over yet.
It ain't
And
over
the
yet,
thing,
baby. We got to keep going, Patrick.
that's right. And the thing is too, is when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm going like, more than Cobra Kai, which is, a lot of people might know you from, but more than
Mhm.
that, I remember you from a very small movie that I watched, and I own it. I own and watch Strange Weather that you got to
Oh
share with me.
gosh.
Yes, that
I'm
was a
so
good
glad to hear
movie.
that. That
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 was a
was
good movie.
female writer, female director, Catherine Diekman, and of course the fabulous Holly Hunter. I mean, doesn't get too much better than that.
No, well, you had Kim Coates in the mix too.
Right, right. But I
Oh,
I got to work with Holly. I wasn't in a scene with Kim, but it was cool to be in a movie that she's in, right?
What's it like to work with someone like a Holly Hunter? I mean, is that something you've always prepared yourself to work for when you first started the business? Did you think that when you first started out to be an actress, did you know that you would actually be sharing the screen time with some really strong and strong actors? I mean, like I said, it's a two-way street for me. It's like, yes, you share the screen with Holly Hunter, but Holly Hunter shared the screen with you. You know,
Aw.
yes, I was very impressed with your performance.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. We shot that in Jackson, Mississippi, or somewhere outside of Jackson, Mississippi. And when I first got to the hotel where everybody was kind of base camp there, everybody was staged there, and that's where the cast and crew were staying. It wasn't a fancy hotel because it wasn't Jackson, it was outside of Jackson, so it was a very small town that don't have a lot of hotels and things like that. But anyway, I went to hair and makeup, which was, they were like two rooms side by side, and Holly came in, and she introduced herself, introduced myself, who I was, and she said, "You want to go to my room and we'll run some lines and we'll talk about this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So we went to her room and we talked about the scene and we rehearsed and we ran lines, and she's just so all in. And to be able to watch her and her habits, just like, the first thing she did when she saw me is that she wanted to start talking about this scene and what we're going to be doing. And, this is why she's so good, is that she's so invested. And, um, there wasn't any pretense or any awkwardness. It was her generosity and her commitment to that project, for it to be as good as it could possibly be. And of course, she wants to do good work. And I mean, that's my whole goal, is to try to bring some truth to the moment and live in that moment. And if I can do that, then I'm really not talking to Holly Hunter. I'm talking to, whatever her Darcy or whatever her name was. So when the writing is good, it makes my job easier. That's number one. And then when the other actor is fantastic, like a Holly Hunter,
Sure.
it helps a lot too, because she's so in the scene with you, and she's so in the moment. So you're not having to, you know, fight or, try harder. You can just kind of relax and be.
It must be relaxing to you as an actress to be able to work with someone like a Holly Hunter or her with you, in the sense that you guys are both equals. It's like I've always wondered how it is when you get an actor like a Pacino or a Holly Hunter, and they get cast, and they have to work scenes with much less experienced actors. And it's
Yeah.
like, I've always wondered how it's like for them to, knowing that they're going to be acting with lesser experienced actors, and how hard is it for them. And let me ask that question for you, because I'm sure you've been in that position yourself, where you worked with maybe kids, or maybe someone with maybe just a handful of credits underneath their belt. What is it like working with someone on Holly's level on one project, and then the next project you're working with some, like maybe some of the kids from well, I'm not sure how much interaction you had with that. Okay, well, let's just ask this anyway. Okay, so you did some interactions with some of the kids from Cobra Kai. Now, or
Hey,
you or
Patrick,
you
I think
watched
I
it?
lost you for I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you see me okay? Because I lost
Yeah,
you for just a moment.
yeah,
Did you lose
StreamYard. No, no, got go here. It's StreamYard. It's not a show. It's not a show unless we have a hiccup.
me?
Uh,
Okay.
okay, so what is it like for you when you have to have when your scene partner is someone with maybe like 4 or 5 credits underneath their belt, and they're doing a scene with you in comparison to a scene with like Holly Hunter or a Pierce Brosnan. What's it?
Right.
What do you? How do you prepare yourself to work with someone like that? Do you try to help them out, or do you let them paddle like a duck, so to speak? Let them find their way.
I love to support other filmmakers and actors. That's a passion of mine. And uh, I try to learn from the pros that really do a great job, like a Holly Hunter and like a Pierce Brosnan, who are so generous and so professional and such nice people. I mean, Pierce Brosnan is just the loveliest man ever.
Mhm.
And so, I try to pass that on to people with less experience than me because I've been there. And I know you put pressure on yourself to hit your mark, say your lines, be somewhat truthful, and then get out. Um, and I mean, I enjoy that process, and I love the interaction and the connection that can be made between that me and that other person. So if they're more relaxed, then they're going to be able to get into their character more and get outside of themselves. But if I'm uptight, then they may feed off of my energy, or if I'm frustrated or impatient or just having a bad day. I can remember one time I was on the set of a comedy that I was recurring in, and there was a lot of dialogue, and it was very late, like on a Friday night, and there were a lot of young people in the cast, and one of the young people, she's probably 25-year-old gal, and she said to all of us, um, recurring characters or day players or any less known in the local talent, because it was based in the Southeast. And she said, well, I just hope everybody knows their lines and knocks it out of the park the first time. And I just remember thinking, well, that's not very helpful to everybody. And I could see some of the other kids that I don't even know if they'd ever even been on a set before. And it's just it wasn't helpful. So you learn. I try to learn on every set, every job of what worked, what did not work, and how I want to conduct myself and what kind of person I want to be and what kind of professional I want to be in this business.
Well, obviously that's made an impression because, like I said, you've worked on some very cool shows, some very good movies, and I think it basically stands for itself on the caliber of work that you've done. Um, but
Thank you.
before we get further into this, I just want to go back to your beginning because you've been working here for a little bit, but how did you get your start in the business? I mean, was it something that you always knew that you wanted to do? Was it something that came on later in life? How did you get started in as far as acting goes?
Well, my mother was in the entertainment industry. She
Mhm.
was a jazz musician, and I think I kind of grew up with a bug for the business. And she had a lot of friends who were still in the entertainment industry, and she gave it up when she started having kids. But she continued to. We had that kind of talk in our household as I was growing up, and I always wanted to do it, but I have a sister who's 18 months older than me, Barbara Gallagher, and she was like this Beethoven child growing up. She was just so incredibly gifted musically because my mother's a musician, and I mean, yeah, it I think intimidated me, to be honest. So I went more into cheerleader, athletic, social, kind of down those roads, and also went down some wrong roads. And I don't know if I felt like I could not live up to my sister Barbara's expectation, not her expectations, but that level of talent. I mean, she's a talented one in the family. My other siblings would say that to me, and my brother can play the drums, he can play the bongos, dance, anything. But um, Barbara, she received her master's from Juilliard in New York City in classical composition. I can't do that. So when you grow up with a sibling who is so incredibly gifted in that way, it's like, well, what do I do? So I think I shied away from the arts period and went into some other directions, and some of them were destructive for me because I needed that creative outlet, Patrick. I did, and it wasn't until I was married and moved to Florida and started taking acting classes. Now, I had done some modeling when I was younger, but had never really gotten into acting until I moved away from North Carolina and um, found a wonderful acting class in Tampa, and started going and studying. And it was the kind of thing that I could work it at part time while I had my babies and were raising my children. So I did this business part time for a long, long time because I loved motherhood, and I don't regret 1 minute of that. And then
No.
I booked in the '90s. I got my first break in a Roger Corman film, if you remember who that was.
Yeah.
And that gave me some confidence and opened up a few doors. And then Aaron Spelling handpicked me to play Gregory Harrison's potential love interest in the WB series called Safe Harbor with Gregory and Rue McClanahan. And I worked opposite the late great Mickey Rooney. And it was a wonderful experience. So we started going to LA for pilot season after I did that, because more doors opened up, and my kids went to the Studio Academy at Oakwood Apartments, and we just had a blast. And we did that for years and years and years with those kids growing up. But I would always have to come back to Florida, back home, because I never booked like a game changer. None of us did, because the kids acted too at that time. And it just wasn't meant to be. And we would come back to Florida, and it wasn't until, and I would book a job here or there. And that was great. I keep taking classes over the years. And it wasn't until my youngest went to college up at UCF, University of Central Florida in Orlando, that my husband was like, you need to cut the cord, and I will support you if you want to go to New York and start studying, but you really have got to cut the cord. And I did. I had a terrible time with the empty nest. So I needed an outlet terribly. So I had to take all of that energy and passion that I had for motherhood and those kids, and I put that passion into acting. And I met Zena Jasper, who was the owner of my little beloved Misha, and she changed my life. And Dan Bright, another teacher that I have worked with that's very much like Zena Jasper, has made a huge difference in my work. And I've just kept trying to get better, and I still want to get better.
I bet you take classes even today.
Well, I'm not in a regular class where I have to drive, because we've got Zoom now. But yeah, I mean, we lost Zena, but Dan, I work with Dan Bright. I work with Corin Nemec. So I've got
Oh,
some
really?
I've got some really talented, great
Oh,
actors
Corin's
and
fun.
teachers. Huh?
Oh my gosh, yeah, Corin's fun. He's
Isn't he great?
yeah, he's a sci-fi he's a sci-fi standout. That's how I know his work.
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. I met him at the Sunscreen Film Festival when we were premiering A Taste of Love, the Hallmark movie that I'm in with Martin Cove and Jesse Cove from Cobra Kai, that's coming out soon, by the way. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
met
Hallmark
Corin, and
movie.
we were on a panel together, and I'm just hanging on to every word this guy says. And I was like, I got to meet this guy. And so we met. I met he and his wife, and they were just lovely. I was like, do you teach? Do you do private coaching and that kind of thing? He said, yeah. He said, when I have time, because he works all the time, right? So
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
he and I have been working together, and we hope to work more together. So stay tuned.
Oh, congratulations on the Hallmark movie. Are you doing a
Thank you.
Christmas movie or a rom-com?
It's a rom-com, and it's said to be coming out in February, probably around Valentine's Day. It's called A Taste of Love, and it stars Aaron Cahill, of course, big Hallmark star,
Yeah,
adorable, and
she's so
Jessie
pretty.
Cove is her love interest, and I played Martin Cove's wife. So you got homeless
Oh, yeah.
Lynn playing John Kreese's wife, and we are a happily married couple. It's hilarious.
Oh,
It's great. I think the
of
fans are going to
course.
love it.
Oh my
Everybody's
gosh.
going to love it.
I was really glad. It's funny. I'm thinking about Cobra Kai, and just so many people that they got a battery charge out of it. Martin Cove, Thomas Ian Griffin, who I thought was freaking spectacular as
Oh,
Terry.
he was brilliant.
Oh, I was so bummed in the third in the third movie where he tried to be the snake, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so messed up.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and then they all come back, and it was funny to see like just about everybody that was coming back to the show was having a redemption arc, and yet
Exactly. Yeah, like Sean Kanan, he knocked
I
it out
love
of the
what they
park,
did
I
with this
thought.
character. I love what they did with this
Yeah,
character.
I know. I
I
love
think
it.
it's
It's starting with Johnny Lawrence flipping the script, and
yeah.
then Sean Kanan, and we'll see what other little surprises the big three have up their sleeve, right?
Oh, yep. Uh, uh, so you said you were handpicked by Aaron Spelling. He was a mega producer. Um, that's right. Stephen Chang, our chat is talking real quick. Um, Stephen mentioned that you mentioned Rue Callahan, who was a fan. He's a fan of the Golden Girls. Do you know Rue
Mm.
McCallahan appeared in one of the best science fiction movies ever made, in Starship Troopers?
No, I did not. But
Yep, she
she'd be
plays the
great in
blind.
anything because she's a wonderful actress. She was a wonderful actress.
She really was.
Yeah.
She plays the blind teacher in the science lab.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Never heard that. Mm.
Let's see. Yep, and Rue and Betty White were my favorites. Yep. Betty White was fantastic in the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which was a tremendous favorite of my wife's. Aaron Cahill, yep. Let's see. Reminds me of Steven says, in a way, Susan reminds me of Jacqueline Smith. The glow is unmistakable, and that could be exactly that. He probably was right on the button with that, because Aaron Spelling was a mega producer. Did you know how big he was when he approached you and talked to you about doing Safe Harbor?
He did not approach me. This Safe Harbor shot up in Jacksonville, Florida. And I was raising my kids with my husband in Central Florida between Tampa and Orlando. So it was cast out of Florida. And I did not know that that Aaron Spelling, was really the one that was going to make the decision until after I booked it. And I'll tell you a little story. I'm not going to name any names, but the first time that the role for Claire, the owner of the local diner, which is the character that I played, was put out, my agent tried to get me an audition, and the casting director at that time said, "Oh, Susan Gallagher is not sexy enough for an Aaron Spelling show." So I didn't even get to read for it. And they never found who they wanted. They fired that casting director, thank goodness. They hired another one. He allowed me to come and audition. Back then, we had to, audition in person. We couldn't send a virtual tape like we do now, a self tape. And I got the call back. And so I went up to Jacksonville. I met with Michael Stark, the wonderful casting director, and I booked it. And he's the one who said that Aaron Spelling handpicked me and loved me for Gregory Harrison's potential love interest.
Sure.
So, I mean, that was it was so special. I'll remember it always because it was back in the 90s. And there's so much rejection in this business
That
that
casting
it's,
director must have been trapped in the '70s, because in the '70s, Aaron Spelling did all those what they call TNA shows back then. Charlie's Angels, he did
yeah,
Vegas, he did Love Boat and all that other stuff.
yeah.
So back in the '70s, like I said, he was responsible. I think they said one time that he was like the version of Dick Wolf back then. I mean, Dick Wolf is
Yeah, he
now.
was.
Yeah. So, I mean, but by then I think he had already starting to his time had come, and he wasn't quite the man with the golden touch. Like before, they would just give him full seasons. Like, here you
Right.
go. Here's 22 hours. Do whatever you want with it. And I think toward the 90s, new network and whatnot. I mean, to me, on paper, it should have worked. I mean,
Well, you know what
Gregory
happened?
Harris.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a My Three Sons show.
Mhm.
And what happened is we were in the slot opposite Monday Night Football, and it was really an 8 o'clock show. We needed a younger audience, and they were all going. The kids were going to bed at that time because Gregory's character had, let's see, he had like these three cute sons, and then this one niece, I can't remember where the pretty girl came in. But yeah, and it was written by Brenda Hampton, who was the creator of Seventh Heaven. So
Right.
yeah, I mean it should have it could have really done well. And I think that Gregory thought that it was going to, and he put his heart and soul into it. And he was wonderful to work with. I learned so much from Gregory Harrison. I'll always be grateful for that season. We did one season, and then they canceled us because of the ratings, and our ratings were getting better and better, despite the fact that we were opposite Monday Night Football in that later slot, that we really needed the earlier slot.
Do you ever go? I'm sure you still remember what your ratings were for Safe Harbor. Do you ever look at them now and just like sort of laugh, because you look at them back then and they're like, yeah, you're canceled. But today, if you had those same ratings today, you're asked to be on the front on the cover of TV Guide, or everywhere. Your numbers,
Yeah.
you would be a hit. You would be,
Yes.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, isn't that something else? That's what
It's so
kills me
crazy.
about. Yeah, I see shows that have been canceled, and I'm going like, wow, if they were around today with those ratings today, that would be a
Yeah.
major hit. A
Major,
major
major
hit.
hit. And
Yeah.
thank you, Stephen, for your comments. I think that's what his name was. And
Uh-huh.
my mother, my late mother, always said that I look like Jacqueline Smith. So thank you. It's very
Let's
special.
see. Yes. It's gonna have to try to get you to sign his Loki box set. Yeah, that was really fun to see you on there. Big
Yeah.
superhero fans, were here, and you got a chance to do an MCU series. You got the chance to act opposite Tom Hiddleston in Loki.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so tell us how did you get that role,
I did
besides
not I did not get myself too excited. I promise you that, because I knew it was such a long shot, and it's this badass, excuse the language, badass warrior woman who has survived the planet being destroyed. Her husband's already dead, and her neighbors are dead. So she's like the homesteader who she's going down with the ship. She's not about to leave her home, and she's going to fight to the very end. So I just had fun with it. And I think the fact that I had already been known as Homeless Lynn, this really tough, filthy character in Cobra Kai, gave me an edge, because I knew that I could slip into that kind of energy. And the casting directors, thank goodness, knew my work in Cobra Kai, or they would have never, considered me for a role like that. And I did go up to Dan Bright, who I use as a coach, went up to his house in Orlando, and um, he gave me like an easel or something, like a folded up easel to hold underneath the camera so you can't see it, but to use it as my futuristic gun. I'm giving spoilers away if you guys haven't seen it. And anyway, she says her line of, what do you devils want with me? And then they say something, and I shoot Loki, I blast him, right? And
Right,
so we
right.
just had a great time with the audition. And yeah, I booked it straight from tape. From that tape, I didn't even have a call back. I could not believe it. And it was like, okay, we're going to have fun with this. I'm going to treat it like an acting class with Dan, and we're going to go all out. And I'm not going to get myself excited at all about Marvel, because if you get yourself too excited, honey. I mean, you crash and burn, and there's so much rejection, and it's out of my hands. All I can do is the best I can do. And if it's meant to be, it will be. So when I got it, my agent at AMT in Atlanta, Jason Lockhart, and Madison and Kelly, they were more excited than me because they had already, you know,
They probably
they
already
had
seen
already accepted and realized the magnitude of being in a Marvel show. And I just kept myself in reality right here because
you know,
you can end up on the editing room floor too, just like that.
right, right. Oh my gosh, I've heard a lot of stories about that, about people getting in a movie and then they go there for overnight night and they take their friends and their family, and next thing you
Yes.
know, they're not in the movie, or they're in it, but instead of the the 50 lines of dialogue, they got two. Hi
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
What? You know,
Yeah.
and it's funny you mentioned about being told no. And I'm thinking about this and going, like you were saying, how your agents were excited. They take that no along with you. They're
Too.
when you hear the word no, they're hearing the same thing.
Well, you
So
don't hear no. They don't tell you no because they usually don't even give you any
right,
feedback. They just hear the yes for whoever's booking it. But if you're the kind of person that if you're on hold and there's maybe another gal on hold, and then they have to call you and tell you, yeah, they went with the other gal. I mean, that cannot be easy to do. They're like therapists, these agents. I could never do what they have to do. They're never unplugged. People call them
mm-mm.
about the most stupid stuff. I mean, I've got personal friends who are agents, and I just see what they go through.
I
And
dealt
we
with
need
agents for 10 years. I dealt with musical agents for 10 years. I feel for them. They
I
they
do
had to
too.
hear.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I appreciate my agents.
Now, had you been following the MCU? Was that
No,
did you watch any of the movies or anything like that? Did Iron Man or any of those movies? Did you
yeah,
follow them?
yeah, I mean, I love Robert Downey Jr., but always loved his work, and I mean, is he one of the Marvel?
Yep, he's one of the Marvels. Yep,
Yeah,
Chris
yeah,
Hemsworth. Yep,
yes,
nice,
yeah,
nice.
but
Yeah,
I wasn't a Marvel fan, but buddy, I am now.
I'm a fan of them all except for the Guardians. Don't
Okay.
like those. Yeah, but otherwise that Loki was a what another character that got ended up being somewhat redeemed. Even though
Yes,
in the comic books
yeah,
he's pretty formidable. But in the series he's sort of they sort of gave him a redemption arc, which is fine, and I
and
hero
Tom
arc.
Hiddleston is wonderful, by the way. He's wonderful to work with and was very affirming and just super nice guy.
Yes, he got his break. That was his big break too. Was the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, so going, when you get a chance to do a movie like that, and you're mentioning how the casting director goes and how important it is, a lot of times
Mhm.
you will go to an in-person audition or a self-tape audition, and maybe you don't hear back. Maybe you don't hear back. And a lot of times it's got to be really frustrating, but at the same time, you try to make that really good impression so that like the casting director will like, well, maybe not this time, but you know what? I'm taking you with me on my next project. So maybe there'll be maybe that's where we'll find you a role. And
And
it
that's
sounds
what you
like
have to that's the way you have to look at it. You have to look at it like I may not be right for this. I'm gonna give it a shot. And as long as I do a good job, that casting director is gonna remember me.
what's some of your toughest role that you've had to play? Like I love asking these questions too because it's always different. But what has been the three most hardest roles that you've had to play? Where Lynn is a homeless woman. She's a drug addict. She smokes. She's eating pizzas off the ground. How hard is it to get into somebody like that that's not you? That's like everything that's not you, and you're being asked to play a person who does those sort of things, which you don't do. How hard is it to get into character for you?
Well, fortunately on Cobra Kai, the hair and makeup departments are just wonderful and they do a fantastic job with the transformation. They put dirt makeup all over my face, my arms, my hands, underneath my nails, um, basically all over. And in a couple of episodes, I have on like cut off sweatpants underneath my skirt. Frank, the costumer, likes the layered look for Lynn because it could be cold at night, and you know how you put on more layers. So they wanted to show my legs and my feet. So I'm filthy. I mean, my they paint dirt makeup all over my toenail. I mean, you know, you don't go and get a mani pedi a couple of weeks before you're playing Lynn, right?
Right,
So
right.
that helps you to get into that character. And then the hair, they sort of back brush it almost like dreads.
Okay.
And you get into the costume. So you have the hair and the makeup, then you get into that costume. And it really helps you to slip into that energy and that you know, that life of Lynn. So I think with all of those things combined, it makes it not quite as hard. And I have to lower my standards a lot because she is so filthy. And I am really sitting, you know, on the ground or on the sidewalk and, you know, digging out of trash cans. So, you know, you have to lower your standards to get into that frame of mind. But it's such a blast to play because of the funny things she gets to say, the one liners that the big three come up with are just
Right.
hilarious, and they take on a life of their own, and people have hashtags with them, and, we've just had a lot of fun. Fans come up to me all the time and say, "Oh, my kids and I, we walk around the house and, you know, say, 'Finish up and beat it,' or, you know, 'You stalking me, pretty boy,' or whatever," you know, all of the different ones. So I would say that it's very liberating to play Lynn. You know, if I'm having a bad hair day or I've gained a couple of pounds, it does not matter. Whereas if you have to, you know, look your best and be beautiful or whatever, then for me, that puts even more pressure than playing somebody that where I'm unrecognizable because it doesn't matter.
I've always thought it was the opposite. I always thought that it was more of a challenge when an attractive actress has to go dirty than it is because it's easy for them to play clean and in gowns. I mean, the Gilded Age. Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that all day long. But you ask any of those women that doing those roles, okay, now we want you to come in there and run through the swamp for, we're gonna get you all those pretty clothes that you got on. We're gonna have them just
Yeah.
wrap. We're gonna send you out there. We're gonna and you got to roll around on the dirt. You're gonna have to wrestle each other or wrestle a gator or something like that.
Yeah.
To me, it's like to me that's more of a challenge and a sign of an actor's skill level is when they're not afraid to go out there and get their hands dirty or do something that is because you mentioned in your biography, I was doing the research and you mentioned that you have been sober since 1985. And
Right.
so coming back and doing a role like Lynn, I mean, there's
Yeah.
got to be a little bit of trepidation there, like but for the sake, for the love of for the grace of God,
For the grace of God, there
I
go
could,
I.
this could be me for real. I mean, this could be me.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. You know
uh,
what's funny is I've had, actress friends of mine, I mean, they're beautiful women, sincerely look at me and go, "How can you allow yourself to look like that, you know, on TV?"
yes, that see
So
to me that
not
see that's
everybody's willing to look ugly and disgusting. That I mean, that you know, most wanna look pretty and
yeah.
sexy and desirable and all of those things, and I find it liberating.
I was gonna say that to me that's what I like. I like that. There was a young actress named Joanna Ray, and she did that. She did a short film, and she just you wouldn't even recognize her
Right.
from her headshot to her role in the short film. You
Yeah.
never recognize her ever. much like yourself. I mean, I would never recognize you now from Lynn. If
Yeah.
I
What
wouldn't
about
know you.
Loki, the Lamentian homesteader? Would you have recognized me in that part if you hadn't have known that that was me?
Um, yeah, yeah, because that person was there. It was more like a settler. It was more, it wasn't like, yeah, because you have a really interesting face, Susan. I mean, I think that's part of your secret. It's part of your gift. Is that you have a face that can do anything, and that is not easy to do. It's a rare thing. I've talked to hundreds of actors, and let me tell you, I think I can count on one hand a face where I could sit there and say she could play anything. Even now, you could play just about anything. Maybe not high school, but you could definitely play the teacher. I mean, you could play any role. You could play a diner owner, or you could play a bad guy. I mean, you got that really interesting look. That's why you and I were talking after, behind the show about the pictures that we're using to promote the show. I always looking for the pictures that fascinate me, and that's why I chose the pictures I did, because your face just grabbed me. And then when I started, then I when I realized that I had seen you before, and I'm going like, where have I seen her? And then I went and I remember Strange Weather, and then I'm going like, oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
Hats
and
off to
usually
you.
my voice, like people with the Lamentian homesteader and Loki, people will say, well, the woman comes out with the gun and you kind of think you recognize her, but then as soon as you start talking, you're like, that's Lynn, that's Susan. But
Do you get
going back
recognized?
to
Do you get recognized on the street and your street clothes, and you're out there just going grocery shopping, or out for dinner or whatnot? Do people recognize you for Susan Gallagher, the actress? Do you get people walking up there and
a
interrupting your
little
dinner?
bit, I mean, for the first couple of seasons of Cobra Kai, no, but because I've done other things and Cobra Kai is so popular and a lot of people know who homeless Lynn is now. Um, I'm starting to get recognized a little bit, but when the Hallmark movie comes out, that is probably going to, because I look like myself. I look like a a normal woman. But going back to your original question about what is hard, I played the part of a woman with early onset Alzheimer's in a short film called "I'll Be Here for a While." And that role was very challenging just because of the nature of the role, and I took it very seriously, and I did a lot of research on this character and on the disease. So for me, I would say that that's probably been my most challenging. Now, what I don't really find easy, or I find hard, is I did a movie one time where I play this really corrupt government official. She's like CIA or something, and she's uh, threatening this guy with his daughter, his little girl, that I'm gonna blow her head off and blah blah blah. And I had a hard time with that because I am such a mother, and I do love kids so much. So um, yeah, that messed with me a little bit. Just the fact that this character was so evil that she would have, she would.
How old was the little girl? How old was the little
She
girl?
was probably 9 years old.
Did you talk to her before and after after the
Yes,
scene?
and that was a big mistake. It was a lower budget thing, and, I knew I needed to stay away from her because she was adorable and her mother was there, but they wanted to talk to me, and she wanted to meet me and hang out and blah, 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 and that was a big mistake, and I won't make that mistake again. I will not, become friends with her and talk to her ahead of time because it made my job harder.
Because you liked her.
I liked her, and, yeah, yeah, I mean, and I could have become friends with her after I finished shooting, but you learn things, and you live and learn, and that was a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because like, we're going to be saying some harsh things. We're going to be the scene's gonna be really intense. I'm gonna be threatening you. I can actually see why you went to her and talked to her a little bit beforehand and let her know that, hey, we're just gonna do a scene together and whatnot. But then again, I can also see why you maybe, I personally, I don't know. To me, I think you probably erred on the side of the best, but that's just me. I mean, you probably made her did it affect her performance or did it affect your performance?
No, I think it affected my performance.
Because
I don't I don't think that
it made
she
it
really knew enough about what was really going on, for it to affect her, but I shouldn't have let it affect me. I mean, and I grew as an actor from that. But I think, I mean, I'm great playing the crazy lady, Patrick, and I'm great playing the tough gal, and and I can blast Loki all day long and blah blah blah. But when it comes to like blasting little kids, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
little hard.
you always like asking too, like, is there any roles that you would not want to do? And so, if you got to act like and if there are any roles that they offered it to you, and you're going like, yeah, maybe not so much. Maybe I don't want to be seen as a child killer. Maybe I don't want to
Yeah,
be seen.
yeah. I mean, I'll kill all the adults you need me to
Yeah,
kill, but I don't want to kill some kid unless they're really bratty. And see, that's what
right,
I was
right.
firing in my head, that I didn't like this kid anyway. So,
Oh,
oh
but
god.
but then you're acting again.
Then I blew it because because they wanted to talk about Cobra Kai, and she was bound and determined to be my friend. So,
Uh-huh.
oh well, live and learn.
Oh my gosh, that's so. Did anybody talk to you about that? I mean, did they sit there and say, "Wow, wow, Susan, before lunch, you mean it looked like you could tear out her throat, and after lunch, it seems like you're her mom." Did anybody
No,
notice a change in your
and it
performance?
they should have, supported,
Mm.
the actors a little bit more, but it was a low budget deal, and that's the way it goes.
What's it like for you to working on? Because you worked on some big budget projects. I mean, even your network TV shows were, their budgets are many, many times the budget of a lot of low budget films. What's it like going from a big budget production like a Loki to a small time, an independent like a Lifetime movie type of budget? What's it like? A big, is it hard for you to make the adjustment between the skill level of the actors and the cast and crew, or does budget affect that? What's it like? Going from a big set to a tiny set.
Well, for example, on Loki, I had the largest trailer I've ever had. It had a full kitchen in it, a beautifully decorated living room, little fireplace, and it was just lovely. And everything was first class. Everything was bigger and better than anything I've ever been on in my life. I mean, just the set and all of the different departments and the professionalism of every department, and just everybody's at the top of their game. So you feel a lot more pressure, and there is such a huge set and such a huge crew, enormous crew, and I can remember, and I think it helped me because I'm playing this tough warrior woman, because I had to stay in that energy. So I was like, I am not going to be intimidated. I am not going to, you know, chicken out, and I'm going for it. And so I had to really stay in that aggressive energy to make sure that I didn't psych myself out, because I mean, you could go down a negative rabbit hole if you let yourself. And I've got friends who have done that before. Thank God I haven't. Um, but I can see
What do you mean by that?
where
Gone
you
down.
can, get in your head. You can get
Oh,
in your
okay.
head a little bit, and then forget a line, or and I mean, everybody forgets a line, but freeze up, and I'm just not going to do that, by golly. So there
That's
is
right.
pressure. There's a lot more pressure because the crew is so enormous and there's so much money involved that you need to get it and you need to get it right. You need to be able to hit your mark. You better be prepared and you better be able to take direction, right? So for me, that's a big difference because you know how much money is involved and time is money. So you
Yeah.
don't want to have to be doing take after take. You don't want to have to be the reason that they have to keep doing additional takes. And fortunately, Tom was great. I did my job. They were very pleased. They even invited me back. So that gave
Congratulations.
me so much confidence, Patrick, that I was able to get through that. But then I've done a lot of indie films, and I love indie films, even though they're lower budget, because it gives you the opportunity and the creative freedom to play and to try different things and take bigger risks. And I have the opportunity to play the lead in a lower budget indie film. So, I'm like, I've done tons of dialogue at 3 a.m. in the freezing cold, in the rain. And so I've had a lot of experiences of it not always being easy. So I think that helps prepare you for when you do have a situation like a Loki and you need to be able to knock it out of the park. And you've been in challenging situations where you've had to perform under different circumstances that aren't ideal, and it gives you the knowledge and experience that you can do it. And I think you take that with you when you go on the bigger sets.
I would think so. I mean, I definitely would think so. I mean, I can understand the independent sets probably allow you to have a little bit more freedom, if you improv or whatnot. Whereas
Yeah,
a TV set, it's like I don't really see them really giving a lot of the actors that kind of leeway.
right,
Even with digital cameras, even with the red camera, they still want to
right,
be on time.
right,
And so I can definitely see the pros and cons of working on a big TV set project and versus indies. What do you prefer? I know one half, the paycheck is really good on a big TV series,
right.
but the creative freedom on an independent film is also really good. So
Yeah.
how do you maintain a balance between the two? Or do you just take anything that's offered to you first? Have you ever turned down a big project for a small one just because of the creativeness that you will be able to have with a character on the independent film? Like you like to.
Not yet. I haven't turned down any big projects. I'm grateful for those big projects because they don't come around very often.
Mm.
So I grab those. But what I do between those big projects is the indie world. And of course, I started my own production company in 2014 because I got tired of waiting on my agent to call, and I started aging out of different markets, and wanted to have a little bit more control over my future and over my career, and creating my own stuff and continuing to work. And I think because being a producer has made me a better actor, and I take the casting process a lot less personal.
Now,
And
do you cast for your projects?
I do. Yeah.
What drives you as far as that goes? I mean, you're an actor. Do actors make good casting agents, or is it because they, like I can't even imagine, being an actor and then turn into a casting director, then having 20 people who personally all coming
Yeah.
to you for that one. Hey, is there room for me? Is there room for me? I mean, what a horrible spot that would be in.
Right. Right.
Now, has that happened with you as being a casting director that people walk in there and go like, "Oh, it's my friend Susan. Oh, I got this."
Yeah. I like casting. I mean, I would never want to, do that over acting, but I even have cast a couple of other projects that were not my own just for people like in LA who knew that I was based in the Southeast and I know the Southeastern talent. So I have worked in that capacity a couple of times, but you learn very quickly that it's a business and you got to have a thick skin, Patrick. And
Mm,
I like to try to give good feedback even to the people who I don't cast that would have gotten a call back if maybe we were just booking directly from tape, but if they had gotten a call back, I went out of my way to let them know or let their agent know that they did a great job, but we ended up going in this other direction that had nothing to do with them. So I try to go out of my way to at least be somewhat affirming because most casting directors don't have time to do that.
right. Right. They don't
Right.
have time to hold. They don't have the time to hold the director's hand or the talent's hand. No, they're because
But
they're
as
on the
far
clock
as me
too.
knowing the talent pool, I know a lot of really talented people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I know you were saying you're based in Florida. I'm going like, man. I mean, like I've since last year I discovered Ohio. Oh Lord, Ohio there's a lot of talent in Ohio. Iowa has
yeah,
got a upcoming booming area. There, we talked to a lot of artists from Iowa last year, and of course, Florida is massive. It's starting to get. I mean, it's like you don't even really think about that, like Florida, but there is some really good actors down there, and of
right.
course,
Well,
Atlanta.
you've got the theme parks, and those are equity contract players, so that attracts trained actors.
Yeah, people don't. I don't think people really understand that when someone works at a Disneyland or a Universal theme park, that they're just not someone off the streets, fitting into a costume. They have to have the acting skills. They have to be able to interact, and they have to know their lines, and they have to be able to do the same role over and over again. It's
Yeah.
it's not it's not just someone getting paid minimum wage wearing a Mickey Mouse hat.
No, those are
Um,
professional actors. Yeah.
our friend Chadwick mentions, did you say you lived in Georgia or Florida? You live in Florida.
I live in
Chadwick was,
Florida, but I have a place in Atlanta. So he
oh,
was
really?
close on he was right.
Okay.
Yeah, I have
Chadwick is
a
a
place
film
in
director
Atlanta.
Chadwick is a film director based in Atlanta. No, thank you so much, Dell. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming
thank
by.
you. No, I've got a place in West Midtown. I'm
It
sure
is our hour is hit. Can we go for another 10 minutes, or do you have somewhere you need to go?
sure, we can go for another 10 minutes.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
It's gone
Thank you
by
so much.
fast, Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. I was like, it really does. But I always want to make sure because you had mentioned the hour, and I would always want to respect that.
Well, thank
But
you.
thank you for staying. Thank you for staying.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Um,
Okay.
if anybody has any questions that you would like to talk to our guest, Susan Gallagher, please drop it in. She'll answer any. She'll answer. Are you going to be back for the last season of Cobra Kai?
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know.
haven't. They haven't started filming yet, have they?
Yes, they have. Yeah.
Oh, they have. Okay, I'm sure they have to have you come back. Let me ask you. Let me put you on the spot for this. I'm going to put you on a spot in this situation because this has been a big topic here in our community, our movie community here. But since I'm one of the few people that do an interview show, so are you aware of the Melissa Becerra, the incident with Melissa Becerra? She was one of the
No.
young actresses from Scream Six.
Gosh, that sounds familiar, but I can't remember. I don't know what you're talking about.
She posted some pretty inflammatory comments on her Instagram page, her social media page, and the production company for the movie Scream 7, they let her go. They let her go out of her contract. They said nope, nope. Um, what do you feel as an actor? Do you feel like should actors be held accountable for comments outside the workplace? Like she did post some seriously. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. Um, do you think talent or an artist should be held accountable from different, from companies like that, or maybe they're underneath contract? Do you think they should be held accountable for some of the things they say and do and act, or should they just be outside of work? It's like, hey, as long as it's not on the set, I don't care. As long as you show up, know your lines, and we get on budget. I don't care what you say or how you say it. What's your opinion on that?
As a producer, if I had hired someone and they were under contract and I had given them this opportunity that a lot of people would have, love to have had, I don't know. I just tend to look at it that to try to be professional. I mean, I don't know what her story is. I don't know why she was motivated to do that. I mean, there could have been, horrible circumstances. I don't know. But all I can say is that when somebody hires me and they pay me to do a job, I'm going to try to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to try to be as professional as I can. And that means being grateful for the work because it's hard to find work in this business. And there is so much rejection and it's very challenging. So I'm grateful. I tend to just try to appreciate the jobs that I've gotten and to be a team player, just like if Cobra Kai doesn't bring homeless Lynn back. And I've had people ask me, how are you going to feel about that? I mean, I could go and I could feel sorry for myself, or I could be bummed, or I could be mad and angry. Why didn't they bring her back? Blah, blah, blah. But then at the end of the day, I've got to flip that and have a positive attitude in life because life is short, Patrick. And
Mhm.
I want to be grateful for the opportunity that the big three gave somebody like me to play this horrible, disgusting woman that has been such an honor and such a blast because it's so special to so many people. And I have met fans from all over the world that adore their Karate Kid movies. They just are in love with Cobra Kai, and it has touched me, and I have loved engaging and getting to know the fans. And so I'm just I don't know what her motivation was, and gosh, I mean, I was so young and dumb and did so many dumb, stupid things when I was a young person, and I still do because we all make mistakes. And I don't know whether this was a mistake of hers or not, but I
I
just
think it
try
was.
to hang on to my jobs.
I don't think it was willful ignorance. It was just ignorant. It was just something I think that she wasn't aware of. And instead of researching what she was going to say or post, she just let it fly. And
Yeah, and
it hurt a lot of people. People say, "Well, spyglass." I'm like, let me just roll this back. It's not like spyglass is a giant entity walking down the street. Spyglass
right.
happens to be like maybe 60 employees inside there, and you don't know how they're affected by the comment. The comment that she said was pretty offensive, really offensive, actually. And it's like you don't know how many people were inside that buildings whose feelings were hurt or whose families were affected by the actions of some people. And you're sitting over there and you're adding fuel to the fire. And it's just
Yeah,
like,
and then it's hard too because social media, it's easy to make a mistake, and that one little mistake can ruin your career. And,
yeah,
so I don't know. It's a tough
definitely in the
situation.
50s. I mean, we saw that Hollywood saw that in the 50s with Joseph McCarthy. We saw
Yeah,
several talented actors and writers and screenwriters that were blackballed,
yeah,
blacklisted by the Hollywood, by the committee, the communist community. So
right.
we've seen that before,
Yeah.
and so
It's just
it's,
unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
it
But
is.
before we get off, I did want to remind everybody that, to check out Fast Charlie with Pierce Brosnan and look for This Old Broad and a couple of scenes. And of course, it also stars the late, great James Caan. So I was honored to be in his last film before he died. that was really special. And to see him work was just such a privilege. And then Mary Good Enough, even though Christmas is over, it's Mary Good Enough. So if you need a laugh or a cry or whatever, it's
I
both
also
of
I
those
also
are on video on demand.
I also own the Christmas contract.
Yay!
That
Thank
was a cute.
you.
That was really cute. That was a
Yes,
cute movie. That was
yeah, with
really
Hilarie
really
Burton
cute.
from One Tree Hill, and
Yes, Hilarie Burton. She's a pistol. She's a is
yeah,
she
and
was she
Cheryl
like?
Ladd. I play Cheryl Ladd's kickback, her sidekick.
That's right. That's right.
Remember her from
And
Charlie's Angels?
Jordan Ladd was in it as well,
Her
playing Cheryl.
daughter, yeah, Bruce
Yeah.
Boxleitner.
Oh my gosh, that must have been a really fun set.
It was, and I played Richie Montgomery's wife. If you know who Richie is, you ought to have him on. He is hilarious, Patrick. He is a
Is
hoot,
he?
and he has worked a lot. You would love talking to Richie Montgomery.
I'm gonna as soon as we get off here, I'm gonna pick your brain for a couple of people. I know who I really want to ask. I want to see if you can help me get him on. I'm gonna wait till we go off the camera, and they're gonna ask you and see if you can help me. Because I would love to talk to him as well. Um, but
He's probably
what?
too big for me to
No, no,
approach, you know?
no, no. I don't think it'd be too big. No,
Okay.
I think you sit there and say, "Hey, no, it's not. It's nobody from Cobra Kai. It's not
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
I
I'm
was
not
going
gonna
to say
take
Ralph Macchio his number, Patrick, so it's not going to work.
Uh, uh, um, but I tell you what, let's see. Oh, hi, Jimmy Joe. How are you? He is here from Ireland, and he says his son loves Cobra Kai. Um,
Yay. Cobra Kai never dies.
Chadwick wants to know what's the best way to reach you on social media. That would probably be that'll probably be Instagram, right?
Instagram is I am Susan Gallagher. And
Yep.
then on Facebook, it's Susan Gallagher Official. But the fans of Cobra Kai a couple of years ago started Homeless Lynn Facebook page that they run. So
I'll do. I think Chadwick is actually looking to talk to you professionally, so you probably have to.
okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah, he's
I'm
probably
on YouTube. I have a YouTube page
you
also that
do.
I put a lot
You
of my
do.
interviews up on, and IMDb. If
Yep.
he wants to talk business, he can always get my contact info, my agents and stuff on IMDb under Susan
Uh,
Gallagher,
I
obviously.
have I have all your information listed below in the description box, except for your production company, which I'm going to put there after the interview.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, our 10 minutes is up. I
Okay.
want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us today. I had a tremendously fun time with you. Very, very fun. I really enjoyed this very much. And thank you so much for being very generous with your time, Susan. I really do appreciate it. I would like
Well,
to
I
thank the
enjoyed it,
people.
Patrick.
It was fun, right?
It
I
was. It was a
mean,
lot of fun.
isn't this like the funnest interview you've ever had in your
It was
career?
fun. It was it was a lot of fun. I really
I
enjoyed it, and I appreciate you asking me.
Oh, no, thank you for saying yes. I was very excited. I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go talk to this young lady. She looks like she's would be a hell of a fun to talk to." And I enjoy talking to Rose. Oh my gosh, that's why I sent you her interview. So I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
because like, who is this guy? Here, I talked to Rose. That helps.
Yeah, and
um,
it does. Absolutely.
I thought she's tremendously sweet. I really
And
enjoyed
so
talking to her as
talented.
well.
She works
Um,
a lot too, Patrick.
she
She works
does.
a lot.
She
Yeah,
does. Yeah, she's
yeah,
very busy. I wanted to ask her to come back and hang out with us like later on during the year if I can find if her schedule has actually opened up enough. Um,
right.
all right. To everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming out and supporting. I appreciate it so much. We will be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with screenwriter, actor, and director Joe Cornett. Joe was here earlier, and when we talked to him and his producing partner Alex Novinsky, you got to see he should be on Cobra Kai. He's like 240. He's like just a he's huge. Alexander and Joe were talking about Night of the Caregiver. Well, tomorrow night we'll be talking about westerns with Joe Cornett. He's got a new movie out called Taken from Rio Bravo. We'll be talking about that along with Gunfight at Rio Bravo. All right. Susan C., right where you're at, and to the chat,
Okay.
I will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with we'll be here with Joe Cornett. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Bye.